last few sessions supine on our backs. So we're going to straighten that right leg out nice and long with a bent left knee and the foot nice and flat on your mat. You want to try to lift and kind of rise up out of your sit bones, out of your hips, so you can get that right leg nice and long, and then feel kind of the weight of your pelvis anchored to your mat, not with kind of that rounded spine or that compression of your back. You want to extend and lengthen up out of the waist, out of the hips as you kind of weight your pockets to the floor. We're sitting up nice and tall, stretching the spine, dropping those shoulders down. You can feel the muscles up your back engage and the muscles in and around your shoulder blades activate as you drive those shoulders down. And you stretch your spine nice and long towards the ceiling. We'll lift the chest up, only adding a little bit of extension right across the mid-ribs at the base of the shoulder blades to lift the chest up. You could even drop the head back, which is nice to stretch the front of the neck, as long as it doesn't add any discomfort to the back of your neck or the base of your skull. We lift and extend, reaching that right leg out straighter and longer, dropping the shoulders down. Holding for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're going to take that left foot, left leg, and cross it over the right. And we'll sit up nice and tall, nice and long. I'm going to place my hands behind me, either flat hands or up onto your fingertips. And then again, lifting the chest up, feeling the weight of that left hip pressing down against the mat so you're not rocked off that hip. And extend the back. Lift the chest, drop the head and shoulders back. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Resetting the chest and the shoulders. We'll wrap that right arm around the left knee. And we'll twist back, look back over that left shoulder to take that stretch down into that left hip. And then chest is going to extend and lift. We're twisting and rotating through the mid-ribs, just below the pecs and the shoulder blades. The neck is long, the shoulders are down. Let's hold for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nice and slow. As we unwind, we'll uncross the leg. Let's decompress the back just a little bit. Left knee is bent with that foot flat to the mat. Arms come to the front. We're going to tilt the hips back. And we'll curl back halfway, almost to the base of the shoulder blades. We'll pause for a breath, and then fold and curl. We're in our nice C curve, that rounded, curled spine, and we'll curl back again. We won't straighten the back unless you're avoiding this flexed position, the flexion of the back, and you're staying in that hinged hip position. One more. And we'll restack and we'll sit tall. Let's extend that left leg out. Reset our position on our hips, our sit bones, and we'll bend the right knee. We're going to extend the back, straighten the spine as you lengthen and stretch that left leg out. And we're going to lift the chest up. Once again, we're back into this thoracic extension. We're lengthening the spine, stretching up towards the ceiling as we plant our hips to the floor. You can again drop the head back if you want to stretch along the front of the neck. Drawing those shoulders down. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Reset the back, drop those shoulders down, cross the right leg over the left, and I'm going to place my right hand behind holding on to that right leg with my left hand, and then lift, lengthen, and extend. Reaching that left leg out nice and long. Shoulders are down, chest is up and lifted. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We wrap that left arm around the right knee, and we're going to rotate through the chest and shoulders to look back over that right side, anchoring that right hip so we don't lift up and off that side, and then extending the back, lifting the chest, holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slow to unwind. We'll uncross that right leg. Reach the arms forward nice and long, and we'll tilt the hips back, curling back to the base of the shoulder blades. We're going to maintain that C curve unless you're staying out of flexion and you're working your hip hinge with a flat back and a proud chest. Nice and slow with that articulation, that curl back to the mat. Feel the weight even from hip to hip. Last one. And we'll curl up and restack the spine. Let's go to our butterfly pose, our stretch position. Soles of the feet are together, the knees are falling out to the side. We sit up nice and tall. Feel that weight evenly balanced in the hips, and then we lift the chest up, drop the shoulders, the head back. Shoulders slide down, the chest stays slightly lifted, and we hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reset the back, walk the hands forward, out over the feet, out over the legs. We round and stretch forward. One more breath. And slow to restack. Curling back up. Sitting up nice and tall, nice and long, dropping those shoulders down. Let's bring our right ear to our right shoulder, tipping the head to the side. We just want the head and the neck to move without the rest of the body shifting to make it look like we got more movement, more range out of your head dropping to that right shoulder. Shoulders drop down, especially that left shoulder as your head tips right to increase the stretch from the jaw down the side of the neck and across the top of the shoulder. And then we lift the chin up towards the ceiling, still leaning our head to the right. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We straighten the head back up, reset the body. Head and neck drops to the left shoulder, pressing the shoulders down. Sitting nice and tall, paying attention to the weight of your body and your hips as they sit up nice and tall from the mat. No tipping of the upper body, just the head and the neck. And then the chin lifts up. You look up over that left shoulder as you press that right shoulder down further to increase and keep that stretch along the right side of the neck and the top of the shoulder. 5, 4, 3, nice and long. We're going to straighten the legs out. And we want to make sure that our hips aren't tucked under. So we're going to find that position sitting up tall out of our sit bones. I'm going to dorsiflex at the ankle to draw the foot back towards the shin, pressing the legs, the knees down. Reaching the arms out to a T position. We'll rotate to go arms and palms up towards the ceiling. And we're going to twist through the mid-ribs to the right and double pulse for 1, 2. Move through to center. We twist to the left for 1, 2. Arms are spreading nice and wide, so don't let that arm come in front of your body. So as I'm twisting left, my right arm stays pulled back. It doesn't end up out here in front in my line of sight. Keeping the legs nice and straight. Trying to sit up taller and longer before and after each rotation. 1 more each side. Arms come to the front, we bring chin to chest, and forward fold and roll, reaching out over the legs. Pressing the back of the knees down. One more breath. And we'll curl up and restack. Let's bring our legs mat width apart. Take a moment to reset the position of your pelvis, of your hips. And we're going to reach our arms out to a T, moving into our saw movement and stretch. We rotate to the right. The right arm is going to internally rotate, so the palm is now up towards the ceiling. As you bring your left arm across the body, hinge at the hip, roll forward over that right leg to reach to the outside of that right foot. And we're extending forward. From here, we keep the weight on the left hip and we lift the chest up, finding that nice flat back. And we sit up, sit tall, unwind, and twist to the left. Left arm rotates, palm up behind you as the right arm comes across. And we roll forward over that left leg, reaching for the outside of that foot. Weight your right hip, and then extend the back, lifting the chest, pressing the legs down. We sit up, we sit tall. Let's try to add a little bit more speed to this movement. We broke it down nice and slow for those first 2. You can make it fairly mechanical to kind of hit those different performance points. But then find some flow to the movement. One more each side. Arms come to the front. We're going to point the toes, tilt the hips back, curl and roll back to the mat all the way down. Arms are nice and long down by your side. Let's bend the knees. Feet are going to be still fairly wide, about as wide as your shoulders, with a bit of a turnout. So you want to find a little bit of external rotation of the thigh coming out of the hip. So the leg, the knee, the shin, the foot, everything's turned out about, 5 to 10 degrees or so. Reaching the arms nice and long, we're going to bridge. We'll tilt the hips back, peel and lift the hips up. One piece of the back at a time. Finding that flexion. You want to bring the chest down and in to find that fold versus the rib flare. We want to avoid the rib flare. On that next breath, we curl and roll down along the back piece by piece, inch by inch, all the way back to the tailbone, finding that balance, that weight from hip to hip. And we tilt the hips back. Peel and curl up. Pausing for that breath at the top. And slow to curl back down. Arms are reaching straighter and longer to help keep the shoulders away from the neck, away from the ears. Nice and smooth, slow. Taking your time through each piece of the articulation because you want to feel for that balance and that symmetry as you peel up off of the mat and as your back descends back down to the floor. That are you weighting one side of your back or your hips more than the other? Let's work 2 more bridges. Last one. And we'll maintain this nice wide stance. Let's interlace our fingers. Bring our hands behind our head to support the head and the neck, sliding the shoulders down the back. On the exhale, we're going to fold at the mid-ribs to lift the head, neck, and chest, keeping the weight at the tailbone. And slow as you curl back on that next breath, back to the mat. Exhale, fold and lift. Pausing for that breath, and slow for the reset. Focusing on that even weight across the hips without moving your low back as the chest, the neck, and the head are lifting up into that forward fold. We're going to pause for a moment down at the bottom. Bring our legs up off of the mat. We're going to come into our frog position. Heels together. Knees and legs are externally rotated out towards the shoulder. And we exhale to fold and lift. Pausing for that breath at the top. And then slow to reset. Back to the mat. Squeezing the heels together, feeling that tension in the leg to maintain that connection. On your next chest lift, we'll stay up, we'll stay lifted, and we're going to rotate over and onto that right shoulder blade. Through on the inhale, exhale to the left. We twist through the mid-ribs, moving the chest and the shoulders from side to side. We're trying to create that nice straight line as we tip from side to side. Nice and smooth glide. 2 more each side. We'll come back to center, reset the upper body back to the mat. Arms nice and long down by your side. And on the inhale, both legs straighten forward and we extend and reach the legs out. I'm going to point the toes once I fully extend the legs. And then flex at the ankle, pull the legs back to our frog position. Inhale, reach and lengthen. And exhale, draw back. Because I don't have a chest lift, I'm going to keep my movement a little bit higher towards the ceiling. Last two. Really find that full extension of the leg, pressing the knees all the way straight before you bend back. And then we'll take that V position down to the mat. Heels are still together. We're in line with our tailbone with that heel connection, and we're going to work our bridges from this turnout. On the exhale, you're going to tilt the hips back, and we'll peel and curl up, sending the knees forward out over the toes. With this turnout, this frog position, we get a lot more glute activation, those external rotators deep in the hip. And we're curling back down, piece by piece. Nice and slow as we glide. Working along the spine, one piece at a time. On our next bridge, we'll stay up, we'll stay lifted, so we can add our heel lifts. So coming up to the top of that shoulder bridge, knit the rib cage in. We're going to lift the heels and lower the heels. Lift, slow to lower, controlling that descent of the foot back to the mat. Squeezing through glutes. Trying not to let the hips lift and lower as the heels are lifting and lowering. And then we'll keep the heels up and we'll curl down along the back, keeping that lift in the heels while the heels stay pressed together, and curling and lifting the back, bridging back up and curling down, maintaining that heel lift with the turnout, still pressing the heels together as you lift and lower the back and hips. Last two. And curl down and reset. We'll reach that right leg out nice and long. Let's draw our left knee in towards the chest. You can grab hold of the knee and the shin to pull the leg in a little bit closer. at the mid-ribs to lift the head, neck, and chest. We're going to float the right foot, right leg straight and long off the mat. And exhale to lift that right leg and lower. Extending and reaching that right leg out nice and long. One more. Upper body drops back to the mat. We'll change legs. Left leg extends out. We draw that right knee in towards the chest, finding that stretch. And then fold and lift. Head, neck, and chest. Float the left foot and leg. And lift on the exhale, lower on the inhale. Keeping that leg reaching out nice and long. Three, two, and one. Dropping that left leg down, rolling the upper body back to the mat. Let's take that right knee and leg, cross body, over to the left side. Right arm is going to reach out to a T, look out over that right shoulder. And we slow to unwind. We'll switch sides. Right leg extends out, draw that left knee towards the chest. And we're going to take the left leg cross body over to the right. And then that left arm opens out to a T, look out over that left shoulder. And slow to unwind. Legs reach out nice and long, reaching towards the end of your mat. Good tension and engagement in the legs. Arms reach straight up towards the ceiling. And on the inhale, we lift the head, neck, and chest. Start to fold at the mid-ribs, and then exhale to curl up. And roll and stretch forward out over the legs. Draw the abdominals to your low back for that extra stretch. And next breath, we're going to curl back. Tilt the hips back, rolling along the spine piece by piece. And then arms reach up overhead, nice and long. Arms flow forward. We lift the head, neck, and chest. We fold at the mid-ribs. And we curl and roll back up. One more. Full roll back. All the way down to the mat. And arms flow forward on the inhale as the head, neck, and chest begin to lift. And exhale to curl. Rolling forward out over the legs. Let's flex at the ankle. Pull the top of the foot back. I'm going to walk the hips out so the hips aren't tucked under. Reaching and taking hold of the feet. You can always grab at the thigh, shin, or ankle if you can't quite get to the foot just yet. Sliding the shoulders down so we can lengthen the neck and keep the shrug out of the stretch. Pressing the back of the legs down, hinge a little deeper at the ankle. We hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Curling up. We're restacking the spine, sitting up nice and tall, nice and long. Let's bend the knees. Place the feet flat to the mat. And we're going to work some of the similar movements that you'd find in short box series on the reformer. If this position is too tight compression for the hip flexor, you could keep one or both legs straight, or you could also do it seated in a chair, so your thighs and your legs are not so close to your chest. I'm going to start with a bent knee and feet flat to the mat. Let's start with round back. Arms are going to reach forward, hips are going to tilt back. We're going to curl back to the base of the shoulder blade. We'll pause for that breath. Keep that abdominal connection pulling in towards the spine, and then fold and curl. Curling up, sitting up nice and tall to restack the back as you drop the shoulders and lengthen the spine. And exhale, hips tilt once again. Curling and rolling back, piece by piece, all the way back just to the tip of the shoulder blades, and folding and curling, restacking the back, being mindful that the shoulders don't lift towards the neck and the ears. We also want to ensure that we don't cave the chest in, that we keep this opening across the collarbone and the chest. So we keep the shoulders in a nice stable position. One more. And curling up, sitting up nice and tall. Hands are going to cross the chest. Be mindful not to grab the shoulders and pull the shoulders forward. I like to stack the hands one on top of the other, center of the chest. Roll those shoulders back and down, sit nice and tall. We inhale to hinge back, flat back, proud chest, and sitting up nice and tall. Again, don't forget about your modifications for your leg positions, either keeping this bent knee. You could also straighten one or both legs, or grab a chair and sit sideways on the chair. So that way you're not running into the back of the chair. Lengthening nice and tall, we hinge and exhale to rise. Two more. And we'll drop our feet into that butterfly pose, soles of the feet together, knees fall out to the side to stretch. Round back or flat back to hinge forward over the legs as the knees drop out to the side. And we'll curl up and restack. Resetting the legs once again, bent knees, feet flat unless you're modifying your position. Fingers interlace, hands behind the head. We sit up and sit tall. We're going to tilt the rib cage, the chest over to the right, and lengthen and sit tall and over to the left. Tipping from side to side, keeping the weight balanced from hip to hip. Nice and smooth as we glide from side to side, trying not to compress and collapse the torso. We always want to lengthen and lift up as we hinge over. Last one each side. And arms come to the front. We're going to rotate the chest to the right and lean back, straight back versus off to the side. And slow to come up. Through to center, twist to the left, and we lean back. And rise. Twisting through the mid-ribs. want to make sure that the shoulder stays in alignment with the hip as I lean back. Last one to the right and left. And we'll drop the feet back into that butterfly stretch. Knees fall out to the side. Sitting up nice and tall. I'm going to go into extension. So my hands are behind my back, fingertips to the mat. Chest lifts up towards the ceiling. Drop the head back. Stretch along the front of the neck. And slow to unwind. Let's bend the knees, place the feet flat. We're going to lace our right foot and leg under the left knee. Wrap the left leg around the outside of the right thigh. Right arm wraps that left leg and we twist back. Reach back, look back over that left shoulder. Try not to, again, collapse the torso. Find that extension, that length as you lift and lengthen out of the hip. And we'll switch sides. Bending both knees, feet flat to the mat. We then lace our left foot and leg under the right knee, wrap it around to the outside of the hip, and cross the right foot and leg to the outside of that left thigh. Left arm wraps that right leg so you can rotate to the left, looking back over that right shoulder. We're twisting right. And extend. Planting the hips firmly to the mat, anchoring that right hip. Chest lifts. Dropping that right shoulder down. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slow to unwind. We're going to come to a kneeling position. So we can stretch the front of our hips a little bit more. We'll bring our right foot up, left knee down. Remember, you can always go to a straight back leg so the knee is off the floor. Use a wall or a chair, something that's stable if you need to for extra balance as you press the hips forward and down. Chest is going to lift. Drop the shoulders, pulling the rib cage in, keeping some engagement in the abdominals. And slow to unwind. I'm going to bring my right hand down by my right foot. You could also keep the arm on that right knee. And we're going to twist and rotate. Reaching that left arm up towards the ceiling, pressing the hips further down towards the floor. And both hands to the mat, one on either side of that front right foot. Chest lifts, little deeper flex, little deeper stretch through the front of the hip. And then we're going to walk that right foot across, lay it down, in for that pigeon stretch. And chest lifts up. And we'll switch. Right leg glides back. Left foot and leg comes forward. Pressing the hips forward and down. Chest lifts up towards the ceiling. Shoulders glide down the back of the rib cage. And then we're going to place that left hand to the inside of that left foot. Remember, the arm can come to the knee. And we're going to rotate and twist up and to the right. One more breath. And then one hand on either side of that front left leg. We're going to press the hips forward and down again. Lift the chest up. And then walk that left foot across, laying it down in for the pigeon stretch. Chest lifts up, extending the spine, holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's slide that left knee back. Sit back towards the heels, in for that rest position. Reaching the arms nice and long overhead. And on your next exhale, we're going to curl up, restack the back, sitting up nice and tall, nice and long. Arms reach up overhead, fingers interlace. We stretch up and over to the right. And then we come down the front slightly on that right rotation, folding at the mid-ribs to come center, over to the left. So now you feel that stretch to the right side of the rib cage, and then along to that side over, and then back to center. We reverse directions. We hinge to the left, and then fold forward. Come around to center on that forward fold. Rotate over to the right, so the left side of the rib cage stretches, and then up into that side over bend and center. One more each direction. We lean right, fold forward, reaching out nice and long with the arms as you come through center over to the left, into that left side bend and center, and then over to the left. Forward fold, around to center, over to the right, and up that right side,